Digging too deep in search of materials to sustain their people, the survivors of the Overworld's corrupt cataclysm would inadvertently release a bane that had been trapped in darkness for millennia, festering in its own rage. The only hope to stem this vengeance-fueled torrent would lay with a single survivor who had gone through their own torturous imprisonment, one who would unite the scattered, broken remnants of the cabin builders and lead them in a resistance to stem the tide of retribution, preserving the underground and overworld alike. Gods had begun, humanity had all players deep and challenging, with different is less likely to get me horribly The cabin builders, survivors of Terraria's consumption by the cosmic menace, knew the risks they faced every time they set out from the tentative safety of their settlements, but could not have expected such a threat as they would inevitably encounter. They dug down deep through the earth, breaking through veins of solid metal ore, fighting off caverns full of fierce creatures, and fording underground rivers until they encountered a layer of unusually white stone. This would be the natural cover stone to the living tomb of the Medusas. Breaking through the seal as they had with all other barriers they had encountered, the survivors soon found themselves accosted in the darkness. Some were turned to stone immediately by the Medusa's terrible power, but others were taken prisoner, stripped of the loot they had collected, and interrogated as to the state of the lizard civilization. Of course, the reptile race had been lost to history by this point, and the survivors could not answer, only angering their captors further. They were kept imprisoned without sustenance as the Medusas ventured out to explore beyond their marble crypt, having forgotten what food or water were. They were kept long beyond the time when they should have perished of starvation, and eventually met the same fate as the rest of their brethren. The Medusas were bewildered at their captives becoming insane undead skeletons, but dared not squander an opportunity, for now what was left of their minds was malleable and easily influenced. The Medusas had found no trace of their once kin, but had encountered rumours of an impenetrable structure said to contain lost people from a forgotten time. It would become the Medusas' mandate to move through the underground in force, imposing their will on any they encountered until they learnt the truth of the lizards and extracted their revenge. Their thirst for retribution was never about to end there though, and their crusade would consume all of Terraria's underground, the Medusas' brainwashed captives as its vanguard. Even though their army would be immortal, they were still capable of being damaged, or even destroyed completely if their bones were scattered far enough apart, so this fighting force would need protection like any other. Their pitiful mining equipment from long ago was hardly of any use to mine a reasonable form of ore, and the Medusas soon found that they needed some other way to armour their soldiers. Venturing outside their marble safe havens previously had been a risk, and to do so again without protection would be suicide, so they would devise an innovative way of achieving their goals. They remembered that their captives had brought with them a treasure trove of plundered trinkets, most of them made of gold that the Medusas could melt down and reforge into their first set of armour. It was crude to start with, but later iterations would become resplendent, heralding a force to be reckoned with. Having a successful proof of concept, the Medusas set about capturing the now skeletal cabin builders who ventured too close to their territory, converting them to their cause. Armor materials remained a problem to them though, as these skeletons no longer carried with them the bullion that they had treasured in their past. Well, luckily enough, word would come to them of a cabin builder who had not completely lost his mind after losing his flesh, and now traded with wealthy adventurers from the surface. It was only a matter of time before this skeleton merchant found his way to the Medusa's marble prison, and would be met with an ultimatum: provide the Medusas with gold to be melted down, or watch what was left of his people get wiped out. He would do as they asked, and continue trading with the Overworlders, returning gold coins and trinkets he sourced back to the Medusas. But secretly, he was working on his own plan, for after exhaustive research he had found a cure of sorts to the madness that plagued the fallen cabin builders. It would not return their flesh, but it was enough to return a degree of sanity to his peers, enough at least to forge them into his own fighting force. Unrestricted as the Medusas had been, the skeleton merchant set to disseminating his serum among the skeleton population. While some responded well to it, unfortunately many more did not. He would have to refine the cure if he was to save all of his people, but for now there were more pressing concerns, and he had influence over enough to begin forming an army. Using all of his contacts and influence, he managed to procure enough armaments for his entire force. In time, the merchant ceased providing materials to the Medusas, confident that he would be able to face them in battle. But by this point, the Medusas' ranks had too swollen to become a fearsome opponent. Fearful of the threat they posed, the skeleton merchant led his army in a preemptive strike against the Medusas. They easily pushed through the underground to the marble caverns, but met significant resistance when trying to infiltrate them. Legions of both the merchants' armoured skeletons and the Medusas' hoplites fell, only to reconstitute and be felled again. The battle quickly descended into a stalemate, each side equally matched, yet unwilling to fall back. Eventually, seeing that they would not be able to achieve what they had set out to do, the Medusas decided to end the battle by going back into hiding. They would collapse the openings that had been made into their domain, burying themselves and their army until such a time they could emerge again, unhindered in their quest for revenge. No longer required to fight, the skeleton merchant would release his army to pursue their own ends, whilst he returned to trying to perfect his serum, still trading with the Overworlders for the materials he needed, the goal of curing his people never wavering in his mind. Those armoured skeletons that now roam the underground would be ready though, if the threat of the Medusas ever emerged again, and in fact some would band together, travelling far and wide in an effort to prepare for the inevitable day when they would once more be called to arms. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and want to support the channel, then please consider subscribing and hit that bell so that YouTube might possibly inform you when a new video comes out. If you want to go that bit further, please feel free to support the channel on Patreon or go and buy some merchandise on Spreadshirt and Teespring. Links are all down in the description. Other than that, have a great day and I'll see you next time.